All right, everybody, thank you very much for coming to this, the most important session of today, because it's the only thing that's keeping you from the wrap up and the goodbye drinks. So, yay. The format is quite different. My co-presenter Dave over here, customer consultant from the US side, and myself, Morten, from the client services organization. The format's going to be a little bit different because we don't know what's going to happen. And we're the presenters. But the real presenters are sitting right there. And this is what we call a panel discussion. And we thought it would be awesome to actually try and listen to people and say, what does it even mean to be a pure administrator? What is that? Who's pulling your hair? Who's making you happy? What's going on? And what do you actually need from Elsevier to succeed better in your jobs? Maybe we can help you out. So I'd like to present our panel, please. From the US, Research Triangle, this is Bonnie Nelson. We have from Texas Medical, this is Melody over there. Susie from Southeast Technological University in Ireland. And Henrik from the University Colleges in Denmark. So we tried to put together a diverse panel. Everything has to be diverse these days. So we did our best. Before we get to the actual questions for these people, this is just a commercial break. We would like to make you aware, if you are not already, of the Pure Foundation Certification Program or the Client Certification Program, because it is in fact one of the things we're offering to you as our customers for Pure administrators to educate yourself on wherever might be missing in your toolbox in terms of Pure knowledge. The next slide is actually supposed to get the discussion going just a little bit. We would like to understand the tasks and responsibilities of these 4 people. What is the most difficult? What is the most rewarding? If I only could, ... something. And thoughts on the Pure Client Certification and anything else that these people might be needing from Elsevier. So maybe I can kick it off by asking, what is the most difficult or frustrating part of your jobs of being a Pure administrator? Certainly there must be something. If you can't come up with something, then, you know.
The most difficult or frustrating part? So I would say it's both the best and the worst, as it always is, which is there is so much you can do. It's huge. There are lots of choices, lots to keep up with, which means there's always work that can be done to make it better. But then that's also fantastic because there's lots that you can do to make it better. And I think that it's that for me, that it's so much that can be done and so much that you should be doing.
I suppose similar as well, you know, it is massive. It's a massive product. And if only we had the resources, and we are quite jealous when we hear people saying they have teams, you know, working in Pure. And at my university, it's myself and a technical officer working on Pure. So if only we had more resources, and if only management understood how, as Marie says, how brilliant, you know, Pure is. She calls it Pure Brilliant. Like we understand it is, and if they could see what we can see in it, that's really frustrating for me personally, and I can see it in the Irish context as well. It seems to be kind of like a bottom-up approach in Ireland, where us, you know, administrators on the ground wanted it to help, as opposed to being imposed on us by management. So therefore, we're trying to prove how good it is, and we will get there. But in Ireland, we're at a very early stage of its development. So as a result, you know, when we get the reporting module sorted out, that's a frustrating part for us at the moment. When we get that, then they'll see how important it is to us as an organisation, because they can get what they want out of it. Because at the moment, when I'm asked for certain data, I'd say, well, that field is not available. So, and they're going, well, can you fix it? And I'm there going, well, we're working on getting it. Well, when you fix it, come back to me. You know, so that can be quite frustrating. But I know it's a work in progress, and we will get there. And there's been a lot of talk about that over the last few days. So that's, for me, the frustrating part, management, and then the little things that it can't do, but it will do.
So to get out of, the frustrating part to me is everything that I don't know. And there is so much I don't know. And it's always pointed out to me at these conferences at like impact. It's not called an impact module. It's called an impact what? Content. Found out about, I was today old when I found out about that. And that's what's frustrating to me is I don't know what I don't know. And it's always pointed out to me, but that's why I come here, so that I learned from all of y'all about what I don't know. Y'all, did you like that? So I'm sorry, it's natural. It wasn't even put on. And that's what frustrates me is I'm really trying to make this work and I'm really selling it to everyone on campus, but I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah, and I can only add to what's already been said. We have a lot of stakeholders, and they're not as enthused about this system that really can deliver on most parts of the university. So we do try and going out and selling, maybe shouldn't we have our projects in Pure? Like we have our own project management system. Okay. So we couldn't sell that idea. And then we might try selling impact. Well, we don't really understand how it works. So we can be very encouraging about the developments in Pure, but we can't sell it to our stakeholders. And then sort of the light under us goes out a little bit, and we stick to publications and activities because that is the core of what our stakeholders really want.
So all of you have shared a little bit about the challenges that you're facing, and we talk a little bit about, you know, the analogy of like the duck in water, you know, the calmness you see above the water, but the chaos below. So I'm wondering if you could share with us a little bit of the calmness that we see above the water. What do you find rewarding as the administrators? You know, is it the successes? Is it the partnerships that you're building? Is it the discovering new ways of using the systems, or building new partnerships for others on campus? What do you find most rewarding as administrators?
Yeah, so I recently switched jobs and went from a university that didn't have the Pure portal to now a university college collaboration that does have the Pure portal. And I was just really excited to actually work with a standardized portal. But also just coming into a new situation and using all the experience that I gathered at Aarhus University, and sort of seeing people actually kind of light up a little bit when I tell them that we can actually do this and we don't have to wait for Elsevier to do it, we can do it ourselves. That was a really positive sort of situation for me to walk into, to actually know that all the things that I worked with prior was actually something that was viewed as a real bonus to the new people I was working with.
What I'm most excited about right now is that my postdocs, which we've had on the portal since we had the portal, but this year I've been doing workshops for them, and they are excited about it because they haven't been in the university, they haven't been in this academic medical center situation for all their lives, and so they're still excited. And then they go back to their labs and to their PIs, and I'm getting calls from the PIs who I've talked to 3 times in the last 10 years, and they're like, we have this? And that's what I'm getting excited about is we're going, you said bottom up. Well, we're kind of doing that from the bottom up. And right now, I'm sorry, I'm just so excited that people that I've talked to are like, well, we have this on campus. So that's kind of lit a fire, and I'm really thrilled about it.
I guess for me, it's the good news stories from the researchers. So one example was we're a merged organisation. We were Institutes of Technology in Ireland up until recently. And for our own organisation, we merged with a university or an Institute of Technology, which was like 100 kilometres away. So we don't know any of these staff. So we're now an internal organisation and we don't know each other. And we're small enough, the two of us together will be around 1,000 academic staff. So we're small enough that we should know each other. But what Pure has done for us now, unfortunately, we only have it rolled out across our Waterford campus because I got in there literally just before we merged. And now I'm rolling it out across the Carlow campus. So their data is not in there. But we had a recent internal call for funding for a PhD scholarship programme. They're worth 90,000 each. And the Carlow colleagues found their Waterford colleagues on Pure. And started that engagement. And one researcher came back to me and said she now has 3 funded PhD scholarship projects, all internally, but they never knew each other until they found each other on Pure. So that's really rewarding for me, you know, to see that, well, I had a little part in that, you know, by introducing Pure at SETU. So that's really lovely. And another example I'd like to give is our Vice President for Strategy rang me there recently, asking, were we doing any research with any of the Indonesian universities? And like while he was on the phone to me, I was able to go in on the map, click on, it took me a minute to find it, click on, and I was able to tell him the exact researcher and the exact universities. Now there might have been only 3 publications there, but he was thrilled because we never had that easy access to data before. So that's really rewarding for me in SETU.
So there's a saying that if you only have a hammer, everything's a nail, right? So for me, Pure is my hammer. I can solve any problem that we have at our institute with it. So if you ask me to track publications, I can track publications. If you want to know, as you said, if we've done work in a certain country, I pull up the map. University collaboration wants to know what universities we've collaborated for. I can tell them. They want to now also collect not only a joint appointment, but what engagement have you had? Have you led a conference? My answer is always Pure. So I can track it. I can figure out how to do it. It's nimble. It's fast. Now that would be a lot of furious paddling under the water to make those new templates, new use cases, new reports. But pretty much so far, very rarely do they come with any sort of information related request that I can't figure out a way to use Pure to hold that information and answer that question.
That's great. And Susie, thank you for mentioning your interaction with one of your leadership members. You know, I think many times people think the administrator, you're the person technically running the system. You're the person behind the scenes, just making sure the lights come on and they're working. But a lot of times, you know, we all know we wear many hats. So it's not just about the technical administration, but it's the operational administration. So I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about your experience or development working with stakeholders. And maybe in particular, you know, those executives or decision makers that decide how things move forward or progress or maintain how they're going.
And I think when I started working on Pure, I engaged at the outset with those key stakeholders, the heads of strategy and the key, you know, executive management teams to get them on board at the outset. But then after that, most of my engagement was with the researchers, with the students, with the, you know, the finance office. And I kind of neglected those, I think, more senior stakeholders. But it's only when they want data now that they come to me. Now, I have asked recently to present to the EMT board. And I think it was more so kind of maybe a little bit selfish in that I wanted to show them, you know, that this is the massive body of work that still needs to be done with Pure, but they're kind of like, you know, it's nearly frightening for them to understand the amount of resources and commitment that's required to it. So I'm still trying to decide on the correct approach to that. But yeah, it's critically important that they are on board and that they can see the value in it.
And everyone else, yeah.
So the University of Texas Medical Branch has a new president, and he found Pure, and he was thrilled, and that makes me excited. But he didn't realize what all we could do with it, and so teaching him is going to be a lot of fun. And then it's conceptually, it's very nice to have that very top level that likes the product and is pushing it. And so I'm looking forward to the next couple of years.
I guess going back to what I said before, working with stakeholders like an IT department or a communication department who have their own agenda and maybe isn't that encouraged by what Pure can do, can be a bit difficult from time to time, because you can present a certain part of Pure to them and say this could really solve your problem, and they'll just shoot it down. But you don't really know these people. We are anchored in the library, as I imagine a lot of you are, and so the IT department is far away from us. The communication department is a little bit closer, but still kind of far away. So we don't really have a close relationship to the senior partners of those departments, and so sometimes it feels like you can't get a real answer to why they won't sort of play ball with Pure.
So in terms of stakeholders, as everybody's mentioned, it covers a lot of bases. So you have your top level people who are looking at it or wanting that information for reporting or awards internally or externally. You have your researchers who want their information discoverable, and then you can send that out to websites or to ORCID or whatever. And then a lot of work, of course, with GTS and the communications people. And so all the stakeholders can see it. It's an actual thing that they all see the impact of. And you're the linchpin that makes that all happen. And so there have been a lot of collaborations that would never have happened, like you mentioned, if they didn't have a tool to go and look at it. And so the president, they have lunch with a random group of people every quarter, and he goes to the Pure portal and looks up who they are before he meets for lunch with them, so that he looks, like he knows each person that works there. But the researchers are now applying for grants through our federal agency, and we feed that information over that goes out. So it's important to everybody in the work cycle, life cycle, whatever they are, at RTI.
Great. So one of the things we wanted to also find out about from this session was understanding how you filled your shoes as administrators. How did you build your knowledge? How did you come to know and understand how Pure is and how to use it and the skills that you've developed? So many of you have had Pure for quite some time now. And we now have our new Pure Client Certification Program, which if you haven't stopped by the tables yet, please do, because the next cohort will be signing up right now for January 14th. Sign up will be open until January 4th. I think I got those dates right? Yes. So I'm wondering if you could talk about your experiences as part of the certification program as administrators that had already been, around the block with Pure. You kind of knew a little bit, but, what did it mean to have that certification program, even as established administrators?
I was very excited to have the certification program, and I hope it grows, because I'm not a research administrator. So in the U.S. we have the CRA. I don't know if that's anywhere else, but I don't want to do that. I don't need to do that. But it's very important to have all those letters after your name. And so I was thrilled that Pure did this, because it's exciting to be able to say, I actually do this and I'm certified to do it. So.
Yeah, so I don't know if Morten didn't do his homework, but I actually haven't gotten through the certification. So I have no experience with that at all. But
No badge.
yeah, so but I've worked with Pure since 2010, and I think the natural progression of skills is mainly through trial and error. So getting a start in validation processes taught me a lot about the publication data, and then moving up to more centralized units, being solely responsible for the customer support really sort of gave me a window into the more technical aspects of Pure. So basically just sort of trying to figure stuff out whenever a problem presents itself.
So you received your certification based on expertise and knowledge.
School of Hard Knocks. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
They all have a School of Hard Knock badge.
Yeah.
So it was really great to do the certification program course, as after having been an administrator for a while, because when you start up your Pure install and you do your integration, your implementation, you're making choices. Do I turn this on? Do I turn this off? What does it mean if I choose that? only going to use these content types. And when you've done that, and then you just start working and you move forward and move forward. And when I took the course, it's like, oh yeah, I forgot. I wanted to go back and look at that. And I do. And then I set it up. And so there's so much to learn. And so it was a great way to be refreshed and reminded about some of the options that I didn't make at the beginning because we didn't have the capacity to handle it, or I wasn't quite sure what the implication would be, that I now know that. And so that was really wonderful. And are we going to talk a little bit more about the course, or? Okay.
Susie?
Well, I did just want to say that it was so brilliantly crafted that the examples and the videos that were used in it, we asked to take copies of it, which we were not allowed to. But it was just really, it's very clear and clean, and sort of refreshed your feelings and excitement about it because it made it new again, and to look at it from that perspective.
I guess for me, we were relatively new to Pure, well, as in might be using it. And I'm not a technical person. I have a technical officer looking after the technical implementation. My master's is in project management. So for me, it was really good. It was really beneficial. I'm same as Bonnie. I saw lots of things in there going, oh yeah, I remember that now, and I've never done that. So, you know, it really was a reminder. But for people who do it as, you know, beginners to Pure, I reckon it's, like, I would have loved it when I started out with Pure, because I really fumbled my way through Pure at the start to try and get myself used to it. So it would have been wonderful to have at the outset. The one thing I'll say about the videos and the tutorials as you're going through it, they're really good. They're short, they're snappy, but it will be difficult for you to keep them up to date because there was some terminology used that had changed with the different versions of Pure. Yeah, so it's the keeping them refreshed will be difficult because I knew what you were talking about, but as a new, you know, if I was a beginner, I probably would have spent half the day trying to find it, even though it had changed, you know, in title or something like that. I wear the badge quite proudly. I have it on the end of my email, my little certification, and I have it on my LinkedIn profile. But I can't wait for the intermediate and the advanced because I definitely need more.
All right, well, let's thank our panel. We'll open it now for questions. And as the microphone's coming around, maybe just quickly, show of hands. How many of you have participated in the certification program already? Who has signed up now to do it starting in January? All right, one or two. All right, well, wonderful.
You can actually do it through the app. You can just submit a support ticket to my team and we'll get you enrolled, okay?
How long does it take?
It goes across 5 to 6 weeks, and you have to spend an hour, hour and a half per week. And this is just the foundational modules, the basic stuff. We're getting ready to give you guys some real hard homework.
All right, any questions?
Hi, I'm Kenning Arlich from Central European University, and we may be the newest members here, or the newest Pure customers. We have our second implementation meeting tomorrow morning. So are there 1 or 2 or 4 pieces of advice that you can distill from all your experience for me?
Don't panic. Yeah, I think I got quite overwhelmed at the start as to how big this can be. So we decided to take, and it was our implementation manager, Kyuho, shout out, I know he's not here at the time, who just said, listen, you know, it's massive. There's only 2 of you. You can only do so much. So take a phased implementation approach, which I found hugely beneficial. So we started with the staff profiles and the student profiles. And then when that was launched and up and running, then and obviously integrated with, you know, Scopus and, you know, getting in publications. And then we spent some time, you know, developing our award management module and bringing in all of the legacy data. And then we launched that. And I found getting researchers on board with the profiles was big enough. getting him on board with all, well, while you're doing that, you also have to be putting in all your new applications through Pure. It would have been, for us anyway, I feel it would have been too much to get them to do at the start, because we didn't have, you know, everything was done by email and by spreadsheets previously. We didn't have a RIMS or a current research information system. So I think there would have been more, you know, a hands-off, you know, like, we're not going to use it if we had implemented too much too soon for them. And then recently we kind of rolled out kind of the ethics module in it. So we're taking it step by step. So don't try do too much at the start. Now, I'm mortified because earlier there was a lady who said they had it rolled out in 4 months, the whole thing. And I'm there going, wow, I'd love to know how many she has in her team. So yeah, it took us a lot longer, but that's okay too, because we had a huge amount of cleaning up of data first, but that was amazing to see that all our organizational data is now clean because of Pure.
We just one last comment because we
Okay.
have to move for the.
I'm sorry. Automate. Talk to Pure, talk to them about automating as much as possible, because you cannot hire enough people to take care of everything. So figure out a way to automate as much as you can.